What's up, arty people? In this video we're covering the basics of drawing. This is a confidence building approach. So if you're a little bit scared and worried about drawing for your project or just for fun, this is a good place to start. I'm going to be focusing on drawing from a 3D piece, a paper sculpture of a flower, but you could be drawing anything at all. Something you can pick up and hold in your hand is great because you can look at it from different angles. Organic forms, man-made objects like a slotted spoon or a whisk, leaves, flowers, stones, anything at all really. It's nice to look for something with some interesting shapes, a knot, a twisty piece of orange peel, a ribbon or a bow. Before we get started, you really do need to relax. So when you've watched this video, I want you to remember to do this before you start to draw. It's impossible to make good art if you're not relaxed. You need to be able to let your mind just explore your object in a relaxed style and communicate well with your hands. So I'm going to take you through a mindfulness activity. We've done this one before. Using your hands, it will really help you. Hold your hands in front of you like this. Clench them hard. Breathe in. Now if you open your hands, breathe out. I want you to pause the video and do that 5 times when you start to draw. Now in this video we're going to be focusing on drawing techniques that use cross-hatching, scumbling, and the edge of a piece of paper to create some nice sharp textures. You're going to need your pencil box with your pencils from 2H to 8B, but don't worry if you haven't got all of them. I just want you to have a range of pencils from HB to 4 or 6B would be great, and it's really good if you can have an H pencil as well. So I'm going to show you how to do a very focused drawing from a tiny scrap of your paper sculpture or your object. I'm going to show you how to draw bigger form, focusing on using shadows and shading techniques to give it some nice three-dimensional form and some realistic textures. Most of all, I want you to remember that it's not important if your drawing is a photographic representation of your object. The purpose of drawing is to explore objects. We have cameras that can record exactly what they look like. We use drawing to investigate. There is no such thing as a bad drawing, and drawing is always useful. So have a look at the video and then please have a go, and I can't wait to see what you produce. Please start by testing out the different effects you can achieve with your pencils. Using a 4B, a 2B, an HB. Please test out hatching, that's diagonal shading in one direction, cross-hatching, that's going one way then the other, shading with the edge of your pencil over a torn piece of paper, using a very loose bunny ears grip, holding the top of the pencil very loosely, and finally drawing an outline and shading it in with your soft pencil. Please try this on a page of your sketchbook for every single pencil in your pencil tin. This will help you get to know the pencils in your pencil box and is a really useful way to build a bit of confidence. The next thing I want you to do is choose a very small section of your 3D piece or your object to work from. Roughly draw out a tiny section of your object, just the outline. Then look very carefully for the lights and darks in your object. Using a soft pencil such as a 2B and a 4B, shade where the darkest areas are. You can shade over the edge of your pencil to create nice crisp textures and folds. I've sped this video up quite significantly, but you can see that I worked over the shading for some time. What I mean is, once you've shaded one bit in, you can still shade over it again with another pencil in a different direction to create more tone. Because I'm working from a very close-up section of my crumpled paper petal, I've taken a photograph on my iPhone. If you want to work like this, that's fine. It's so important when you're drawing to find ways that build your confidence. Please just have a go. We're starting to see some real nice depth now. It's looking quite three-dimensional. You can see that it's crumpled paper. The fact that I've chosen an abstract form to draw isn't a mistake. I wanted to choose something that would be easier to represent because this video is to help you if you're lacking a little bit of confidence. A drawing like this is so useful, so much more useful than just taking photos. By doing this drawing, I've learned much more about the lights and darks in my crumpled paper sculpture. It could be an idea for a background in a final piece, or just a nice part of your sketchbook work. Okay, now I'm going to draw in a little bit more of a detailed way. I've drawn the outline of my form, feeling a bit more confident after my zoomed up drawing, and now I'm drawing the negative space around it. I'm looking very carefully at the shapes between the petals and I'm filling them in with charcoal. This is your next task. You don't need to do any more than this. This is a great way to help you really observe an object using negative space. This time I'm producing more of a finished drawing. I'm using some of the techniques we've learned earlier on in this video. I'm starting off by using a loose pencil grip to draw the outside edge of my flower. A loose pencil grip will help you draw what you really see, not what you think is there. This is going to help you observe and produce a more appealing and more accurate drawing. As my object is layered, so many objects do have layers, I'll be working on the layers separately. I'm looking really carefully at the gaps between my layers and the shapes in between my forms. The outline of something is called its contour, and at the moment I'm working on the contours of my flower petals. I'm still holding my pencil quite loosely, and I'm concentrating hard. I'm not going to draw the whole thing, just part of it. That will allow me to produce a more detailed and interesting drawing. Just draw part of your 3D piece or object, for now. Now I've drawn my contour, I'm going to start to shade. You can see that my flower has lighter petals and much darker petals. For my lighter petals, I will use a lighter pencil, for example an H or an HB. For my darker petals, I will use a much softer pencil, such as a 2B or a 4B. Shading in your contour to your shapes will give you tone. Tone gives you depth. That means making things 3D. Varying the angle of your pencil as you shade will create different effects. You can see here that I've varied the grip of my pencil and the direction of my pencil quite frequently. Switching between a light pencil here for a light section of overlapping tissue paper leaves. Some cross-hatching. My pencils are always really sharp. That's my H pencil. It gives me my lightest mark. Using my rubber to create highlights. Rubbing little bits out, that means, to show where the lightest parts are. I'm working on the central section now. I've noticed that there's lots of different tones in it, light bits and dark bits from the paint I used when I made it. Oops, I went wrong. Never mind. Using my softest pencil, my 6B, to create the darkest parts, and pressing harder to create some thick and some thin lines. Now I'm using my HB pencil and I'm shading over the edge of a piece of paper. This will allow me to create a creased or textured effect. Lovely. This drawing was sped up 400%. It did take quite a long time. It's important to relax and enjoy the process of drawing. When you're doing your long drawing, try to use at least 6 different pencils. Cross-hatching, edge of paper, hatching, and a loose pencil grip. Give yourself regular breaks and never try and draw when you're hungry. Be prepared that your drawing won't look fantastic until you've spent some time on it. It takes time to create depth and tone with pencils. Remember to keep your pencils sharp. Look carefully at the gaps between things. Look carefully for the really dark bits and make sure you shaded them in. Next we need to think about a shadow. A shadow is really important because it will stop your drawing floating up off the page. You could use the side of your pencil to put your shadow in. Nice soft pencil will do. You could blur it with your finger. You could use charcoal. You could cross hatch it. Don't just guess where the shadow goes, really look at your object. Notice where the light falls on it and how the shadow is cast. The shadow will be at its darkest closest to the object, and it will be much lighter further away from the object. Shadows don't usually have sharp edges. You can use your rubber or pencils to blend it out. Nearly done, just adding a bit more shadow. Looks quite three-dimensional now, doesn't it? It's important to remember to have contrasts, dark bits and light bits. Enjoy, have fun and have a go.